In this video, we're going to be exploring the secrets to perfect pour over coffee at home using a Chemex. Welcome to coffeewithgpa.com. We love making videos about coffee and we love learning all there is to know and all there is to learn about coffee too. So if you want to join us on this journey, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment and your feedback below. So what is the secret to perfect pour over coffee made at home using a Chemex? Well, I believe really it's all down to three simple things: using an amazing coffee, really good quality water, and finding a way to marry the two together to form the perfect extraction. Now that's a lot simpler than it may seem, but we also need to remember that coffee is an incredible product, and one of the best quotes I heard recently was a gentleman that works for a coffee shop in Penarth in South Wales, where the more he learns about coffee, the more humble he becomes. And it literally made me think that it's such an incredible thing to explore. Coffee is an amazing product. It's an amazing natural ingredient. So getting the very best from it should be a priority without having to go too crazy and exploring a million different scientific methods in order to get that. So how do we go about making this perfect cup of coffee? We choose the perfect coffee beans. Now, perfect coffee beans are going to be a very subjective thing. What might be perfect to me may not be perfect to you. Now, I've chosen this Peruvian coffee by Neighbourhood Coffee Roasters based in Liverpool. Now, we can expect flavour notes of this of raspberry, plum and candied fruits. Now, that's really important. I love the sound of those tasting notes. That's why it's important for you to choose the right coffee for you. This is a fairly light to medium roast coffee. It's consistently roasted and it just works perfectly for every type of scenario. Now, if you prefer a darker roast coffee or a very light roast coffee, if you prefer coffee from Kenya, from Colombia, or even from Honduras, use whatever coffee you feel is perfect for your taste. We're going to use filtered water. Filtered water will actually remove a lot of the bad tastes and a lot of the unnecessary parts that you just don't really want to be drinking in natural tap water. So this can be really beneficial to the way you make coffee. It can certainly protect your equipment, but also it allows for a much cleaner, much tastier cup of coffee. If you don't want to use a Brita filter, you can also use something like a peak water system by Kelowna Coffee or a bottle of spring water. Try to use one with as lower compounds as possible. Waitrose spring water is meant to be one of the best for that. We need to choose our recipe. Now, the recipe that we're going to be using today is a fairly simple brew ratio. We're going to use a 1:17 method. Now, this means that for every 17 grams of water we're going to use 1 gram of coffee. Now, I've started by weighing out my glass of water, and we get approximately 320 to 321 grams of water in that cup. So 320 divided by 17 is going to give us 18 grams of ground coffee. And the most important part of that is to start grinding those beans. So we're going to use our niche zero grinder for this. We want to use a fairly coarse setting down to the fact that it gives a much more broader extraction. Certainly from pour over coffee, having a coarser grind, working with a paper filter, will actually allow the water to go through at the desired rate. Next up, we need to wet our paper filter. Now, this is really just to allow all of the taste of that paper to go through, and it also helps us warm up our Chemex. We're now going to dispense with that water and we're going to start pouring our coffee. So in go the coffee grounds, and in goes our 321 grams of hot water. I like to boil the kettle, then pour it into my pouring kettle and allow it to sit for a few moments just to cool down a bit more. We're going to leave that to bloom for approximately 30 seconds now. Next up, we're going to top up our water with about half of the remaining hot water from our pouring kettle. Then finally, we'll use the remainder of that water and we'll allow that to extract through the paper filter into our Chemex. Last but by no means least, we're now going to pour our perfect pour over coffee from our Chemex back into our original glass. And there's the fruits of our labour. And all of those tasting notes really come out now. You can smell and taste the raspberry, the candied fruits in there. And you get a lovely, almost plum wine finish to that as well. Now, why is this the perfect way of doing it? Well, having practiced a few times, I've generally gone on eye. And what I mean by that is that I will pour out roughly the right amount of beans that look okay, use the right amount of water for what looks okay, and then allow them to brew for what looks like it will be okay. In this instance though, flavour notes change completely. They're actually a lot more prominent because I've used a more mathematical based brewing process. Now for someone that's not scientific, someone that's definitely not an alchemist, using something simple like that 1:17 brew ratio, using the best possible beans and using filtered water really has produced the perfect pour over coffee at home. Give it a try. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we look forward to seeing you on more videos on coffeewithgpa.com. See you again very soon.